Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you guys are. Guys, smash the like button on this video. You're going to enjoy this video. So, guys, Andre Ward has come out and said that Canelo Alvarez hasn't got that many prime names on his record. So, Andre Ward went on to say that Canelo Alvarez is a great talent. There's no doubt. He's certain a Hall of Famer, and he's had a great career. And he's done very, very well in his career. He's had an illustrious career. But Canelo Alvarez hasn't got that many. He said, Oscar De La Hoya did a great job with Canelo Alvarez, the way he managed him, the way he got him, which I agree. I think a lot of Canelo fans hate on Oscar, but I think they've got to realize what Oscar did with him. Oscar made Canelo a superstar. I think Oscar's promotion was brilliant, and the way he used to guide Canelo, I think, was perfect. And Andre Ward then went on to say, well, a lot of the names that Canelo fought were faded. They weren't exactly in their prime. Although he's kind of on the surface, it looks like Canelo's fought everybody. A lot of the names that he fought weren't at their prime. This is ironic coming from Ward, because Ward is a guy that's hardly got any names of any note on his I mean, he's got Froch and Kessler and these guys, but those weren't, those weren't elite name. They were good fighters, but they're not all-time greats by any stretch. The only all-time great that Andre Ward's got on his record is Kovalev, and I thought he lost the first time. He definitely lost that fight the first time. I think everybody, Roy Jones, Bernard Hopkins, all came out and said he lost. He lost that fight the first time and then beat him in the second fight, which was fair enough. I give him that. He came back and he beat him. Kovalev for me was on the decline. When Canelo fought Kovalev was washed up as well. I thought Kovalev was a fighter that was declining when Ward. The first time I think he was great, but the second time I think Kovalev was he was on his way out. There was rumors about him, not really living the life, and Andre Ward, he's a disciplined guy. He took advantage of that. But let's look at Canelo's resume. Canelo's got a Cotto that people say was washed up. I don't agree. I don't think Cotto was washed up when he fought Canelo. He gave Canelo a pretty hard fight, to be fair. Lara was definitely not washed up. Golovkin definitely was not washed up. Johnny Jacobs was definitely not washed up. I would say, although Khan was moving up 2 weight classes, I definitely don't think he was washed up. I think he was a good win. Yeah, he was a smaller guy, but Khan was a good boxer and he caused Canelo issues. I would say, what's his name? Billy Joe Saunders wasn't washed up. Callum Smith wasn't washed up. Caleb Plant wasn't washed up. And let's be brutally honest, these are guys that were in their prime. Those guys at super middleweight, yeah, people may say now that they weren't any good and this, that, and the other, but wasn't Andre Ward picking Caleb Plant to beat Canelo Alvarez? Wasn't he saying that Caleb Plant has got all the ingredients to beat Canelo Alvarez and Canelo's knocked him out? I really like Andre Ward. I think Andre Ward's a great fighter. I think Andre Ward had a great career, and I think Andre Ward had great skills. He wasn't the most exciting fighter, but I do feel that there's a little bit of, like, I might be a bit wrong here. This is just my opinion. I do think there's a little bit of jealousy from Ward, not just when it came to Canelo. I think when it came to someone like Mayweather as well. You saw that Ward had run-ins with Floyd Mayweather, and I think that was probably down to not necessarily jealousy, in the fact that he respected those guys and he gave Canelo his props. He says Canelo's a great fighter, but Andre Ward is somebody that never really became a superstar. He was a great fighter, but he never really, in terms of the money that he made, in terms of, like, don't get me wrong, he's financially well off and made a lot of money, and he's also got a good job now as a pundit. But in terms of the money that Canelo Alvarez made, in terms of the money that Floyd Mayweather made, Andre Ward didn't get to that level. And I felt like maybe there was a little bit of jealousy from his part that, he never managed to get the name that his talent or ability deserved, in his opinion, in his mind. So I definitely think that there's probably a little bit of jealousy there. And also the fact that if Canelo Alvarez went on to have a successful run at light heavyweight, that he would be definitely seen as greater than Ward, even at the higher weight classes. Now, Ward is a great fighter, but again, like I said, Ward's resume is hardly anything stellar himself. I mean, he's beaten Kessler, Froch, I mean, Abraham. These are okay fighters. His main run and his mainstay where he was a dominant force was at super middleweight. And if we're really honest, there wasn't really anybody at super middleweight. You could say the same about Canelo because Ward would beat everybody that Canelo beat really at super middleweight. But really, when you think about it, super middleweight hasn't been a very strong division for a while now. Andre Ward also went on to say that Canelo Alvarez will avoid David Benavidez, and they're keeping him away, trying to make out like David Benavidez is some kind of monster. And I've said I don't know why people are so high on David Benavidez. You know, he's an unproven guy. He's got a lot of flaws in his game. And someone like Canelo Alvarez, with the IQ of Canelo Alvarez, could take advantage of some of the flaws that David Benavidez makes. But I think there's this rhetoric around American boxing now that David Benavidez is the next guy and Canelo's avoiding him. They've got to get somebody out there that they think is going to beat Canelo. We've already seen Canelo take challenges much tougher than David Benavidez. He fought Bivol and wasn't successful in that fight. Canelo's not afraid to fight guys in their prime. I think the Bivol fight showed that. He may end up losing. It does, but the fact is, Canelo will take on challenges. He'll take on fights. Canelo Alvarez isn't afraid of a losing a fight. And when we look at Andre Ward's career, Andre Ward, although he moved up and fought Sergey Kovalev, that's his only real name on his record. And most importantly for me, Andre Ward retired pretty early. I mean, I think there was guys for. I think Andre Ward could have definitely gone on. And I think there was names for Andre Ward to fight still. You know, there was guys like Bivol and Beterbiev coming through. But Andre Ward maybe saw that and he thought, you know what, I don't need that at this point in my career. So he kind of, I wouldn't say swerved it, but I'd say he just thought that he thought better of it. That at this point, there's no challenges and I'm going to go and retire. But then there was talk about him fighting Joshua. And for me, that seemed like a fight that he would take because he'd get paid a lot of money and he'd be moving up to heavyweight to fight a bigger man where he wouldn't have a lot to lose because people will say, well, he lost to a guy that was almost, so much heavier than him and so much taller than him, so much bigger than him. So he would have a legitimate excuse, a bit like Conor Benn fighting Chris Eubank. But yeah, I think Canelo Alvarez's resume is far better than Ward. If I'm honest with you, I think it's far better. I think he's I think he's fought a lot of guys that were a lot more skilled. Like for me, Arizandi Lara is probably better than anyone that Ward fought. I mean, that man had skills to pay the bills. I mean, apart from Kovalev, I don't think he's fought anybody as good as Alexandre Lara, Miguel Cotto. And I would say Miguel Cotto had a better career than Kovalev as well. I would say, many guys. I mean, Golovkin, I think, is a better fighter than Kovalev. Had a better career, much tougher, had a better chin, more discipline. And Canelo fought him in his prime. Now, you could say, yeah, well, Canelo lost the first fight. The second fight, I thought Canelo won. That was Golovkin at his best. People say Golovkin wasn't. No, Golovkin was at his best when he fought Canelo both times. He was really good at that point. Yeah, the third time, Golovkin was past his best and he wasn't nowhere near what he was. But you could say maybe Canelo wasn't as good when he fought Golovkin the third time. His performance wasn't exactly stellar. But yeah, Ward's always been somebody that I feel like he's always taking he gives Canelo his props. Don't get me wrong, he does give Canelo his props, but he also takes sly digs at Canelo as well, saying that, oh, well, they know when to fight the right guys and this, that, and the other. But really, if you look at Ward's career, he didn't really have a lot of competition in his division. Now, that's not his fault. That's just who was there at the time. The depth of talent wasn't really that great. The difference is with Canelo Alvarez, people will say, well, the 168-pound division is weaker. Yeah, I'd agree than when Ward was there. I'd agree with that. The only difference is that Canelo Alvarez is a guy that's moving up so many weight classes. So Andre Ward was a guy that started his career at 168. He was a big guy, whereas Canelo Alvarez moved up many weight classes. And he's, in my opinion, beaten a lot of the names in many weight classes. So, and let's be brutally honest, this fight with David Benavidez is eventually going to happen. And when he beats David Benavidez, what are people going to come out with then? Then they're going to say, oh, well, he didn't fight Andrade or he didn't fight Charlo. There's always somebody for Canelo to fight. Do you understand? There's always somebody that Canelo is avoiding or not fighting. But when you break it down, there's not many people in boxing with a better resume than Canelo Alvarez. There isn't. And he fights guys that stylistically aren't really a great matchup for him. He fights guys that stylistically are not a very good matchup, which shows me that Canelo has balls and willing to fight anyone and everybody. So I don't think we can really question Canelo. I know Ward has his opinion, but in my opinion, I just think Canelo Alvarez is one of the most decorated fighter of the last 10, 15 years. I mean, he fights everybody and people still find a way to criticize him because he's not fighting a certain fighter, and they criticize, oh, he's not fighting that background, this background, all this nonsense. But one thing I will say is Canelo is a warrior and his record proves it. He fights everybody and he's had what, nearly 50, 60 fights. I mean, the man's a warrior, you know. And Andre Ward, what, mean he had 30 something fights, you know. So I think when we look at it, Andre Ward's resume is not anything to doesn't stand out. You know, Andre Ward's resume doesn't really hit me as a resume that is outstanding by any stretch. I mean, and the super middleweight division, how many guys did he beat that were great fighters? I mean, a lot of them. Look, he beat. I mean, Chad Dawson, that was washed up. You know, he beat guys like that were washed up. I mean, you know, Froch, yeah, that was a good win, but I mean, there's a lot of guys that Ward fought that, you know, when we look at Ward, break Ward's down, apart from Kovalev, and the first fight I thought he lost. When we really break it down, who did he beat? I mean, you know, so you can't really question another guy's resume when your resume is kind of similar. I think Ward's resume is pretty similar, to be honest. Similar. I think Canelo's resume is better than Ward's. I think he's fought more guys, and I think Ward's resume is, there wasn't enough talent there in his division, so he had to move up. But then he could have fought Stevenson. He could have fought, like I said, waited and fought Better Biev. If he had fought Better Biev and Bivol and Stevenson and these guys at light heavyweight, then I would have said, yeah, that Ward is clear of Canelo. But no, not for me. Not, his resume is not strong enough for me. That's just my opinion. I think if Ward had fought Canelo, I think maybe you would have to make Ward a favorite. He's naturally a bigger man and he was very good at spoiling. And when you look at what Bivol did, but having said that, I think if Ward got into a physical fight with Canelo, I think that wouldn't be good for Ward. I think Ward would have to negate him at a distance. I think you have to negate Canelo at distance. I think you can't physically try to impose yourself or try to have even though Ward might have been a bigger man, I think that might not have been a great thing because Ward could be hurt. We saw him against Kovalev. He was put down and he was hurt early on in his career. I don't think he would want to go into a physical tangle with Canelo. I'm not sure that would end up too well. So I think Ward would have to negate him, use his height, reach, negate him at a distance. But yeah, leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. What do you make of Ward's comments? Do you think it's a bit of jealousy from Ward's part? Or do you think Ward has a genuine case when he says Canelo Alvarez doesn't have many prime names on his record? Leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.